Army of Darkness on 4K Blu-ray. This is my day 15 of 31 in my 31 Days of Horror for 2023. So this was my first time actually watching this movie cover to cover, the whole thing, and it was a total blast. Like, it had, it's just so campy, this movie. It just has such like Ray Harryhausen vibes with all the like stop motion skeletons and just the humor and the action and like the horror. Like, this movie is a total blast. So for my day 15 of 31, I'm gonna review it. I'm just gonna go through it like it's a book club and it's my turn to talk about it. So obviously this movie is hugely cultly famous, and I'm not gonna improve upon the scholarship that's out there, but we'll just look at it through my eyes for the next few minutes. So I've never seen the other Evil Dead movies, but I figure the opening scene kind of gets you caught up on what happened there. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong there, but it seems like we're pretty much caught up with what we need to know for this movie. So as far as the 4K goes, this thing actually looks pretty great for what it is. And the reason I say for what it is because there's quite a few scenes where you can tell that the actual source is like blurry or grainy, or as is going to be the case coming up here, there's actually like a bunch of dirt and stuff on the lens. And so a restoration wouldn't get rid of that. Let's see if you can see that. See these spots over here? That's like the lens actually has dirt on it, but the rest of the screen is like amazingly detailed, and you can see like the film grain moving, so they didn't do any grain management. So I think this movie looks as good as it possibly can. And this is also the theatrical version. There's 4 versions of this movie in this box set. There's a theatrical, or maybe there's theatrical, director's cut, international, and the edited for TV one. I actually want to try the edited for TV one next because it's actually quite a bit longer than the theatrical. Actually, let's look at the runtimes. There you go. So theatrical's 81 minutes, director's cut's 96, international's 88, and then the television cut is 90 minutes. So the TV cut actually might be pretty good because it might take some of the best stuff from the other cuts, but then maybe tone it down a little bit for younger audiences. And I actually really want to support these releases that have like a TV cut, an airplane cut, or like an alternate audio cut, like Avatar does, just because I think like optical discs should do that anyway. Like, if the cut exists, like they should throw it on there. Like, why not? So then like a parent can be like, yeah, kid, I'll show you the TV cut and I'll watch the theatrical one or whatever. So I like to support releases that have that. I think it's very cool. So the cinematography in this movie is really wild. It's actually like, it can be its own character. And it turns out it is by Bill Pope, who you may know that did the cinematography for such movies as The Matrix and Alita Battle Angel and Spider-Man 2. And so a lot of it all starts to make sense. Like, when you think of the scene when like in Spider-Man 2, when Doc Ock's like octopus things start going and it's like a horror movie, like that's like straight out of this movie. So you have the same director, same director of photography, so it all starts to make sense. But just when I hit play here, just these few couple cuts together will show you what I mean, that the cinematography is like almost a character on its own. Also, hopefully it'll show what I mean, that it's almost, the cinematography is almost kind of dizzying. Like, I feel like it was like starting to hurt my head there for a minute. But yeah, look at this little sample just to see how like wild and character-y it is. See that Dutch angle? He hits, and then it just does this like crazy zoom. And I can't show anymore, but like when like scary creatures attack, it just like gets right in their face, and it's just the camera work is just wild in this. It's like I said, it's like its own entity. So then Ash is down in this pit fighting this scary witch thing, and this he's not really a wizard guy. He's kind of like their smart guy, but he throws his chainsaw down to him, and this shot is so cool. He lands, starts it up. That's a great pose. That's a great hero pose. So that's pretty awesome. And as I said in my unboxing of this, like forever ago, when I used to do wildland firefighting and use a chainsaw, of course, long hours and long hikes with chainsaws get your mind a working, and you just start imagining fighting like undead and vampires and orcs or whatever, you know, running out of the trees. So it's pretty awesome to see him fighting whatever pit witch creature in this movie with the chainsaw. So I have a special place in my heart for chainsaws. So I don't know if on the VHS or the DVD or the Blu-ray if you can see this part, but you can definitely see the strings holding up this arrow on this part. And actually quite a bit throughout this movie you can see kind of like what is manipulating things. But look at this Jared Leto with bangs, guy shooting the arrow. See if, I don't know, let's see if the phone picks up the strings. Actually it doesn't come through that much, but you can see there's a string right here and a string right here, and then there's some strings on the back as well. I'll make it go forward, kind of frame by frame here. See if you, there you go. You see the string on there, but that's still pretty good. Anyway, I think that's like a 4K-ism, is that you can just see a lot more detail. Like you can see a lot of the skeletons later in the skeleton battle that goes on for delightfully forever. A lot of the skeletons are just a guy in a costume, and you see like the black mesh over his face, or you can see that they're wearing like tights that kind of look like a skeleton on the outside. But it's so campy and so fun. I love this part when Ash comes out of the pit and he's basically bullying everybody, and he's seeing who wants some, and he's pushing this old guy. I mean, maybe he's not that old, but he's pushing this guy, and then his buddy's like, "Hey, why didn't you stand up for it?" He just shoves him.
Now get on those horses.
I love his boomstick speech. Like he does this classic line right here.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick.
And he just goes on to explain, like, in fine detail, like what kind of gun it is.
Walnut stock, cobalt blue steel.
You see everyone looking all close at it.
Trigger. That's right.
Anyway, I love that. He's just talking about what aisle they can find it in, and all these like medieval people are just like staring at him like, ooh. He's just describing a shotgun, even how much it costs. If there's one thing in action adventure movies that just warms my soul, and like nothing else, it's when it shows somebody reloading. Not only when it shows someone reloading, when they actually show them reloading at the proper rate, and they show them reloading like correctly for that gun. Now this movie doesn't always show the reloading at the proper rate, but I will give credit right here. I do love to see this. Look at this. Look at it. Anyway, putting shells in there. Then he has a classic line here, but just warms my soul, you know, during a gunfight. Like, I feel like the first movie that I really noticed that on was The Mummy from 1999, when Brendan Fraser's reloading like all the time, like especially in the boat battle. But anyway, just warms my soul. This movie is full of so many amazing one-liners, and I just have to show the cinematography on while he's building his new hand, which is a little bit sad because then we say goodbye to the chainsaw hand. But I mean, I guess this montage being so cool makes it worth it. The grab and zoom on everything. So awesome. Ever since original Star Trek aggressively used this national park, I love to play spot the Vasquez rocks in movies, and I always get really excited when I see them. Look at him!
A cemetery.
Look at that. It's just so recognizable. I love looking at these rocks and just thinking of like all the movies that have been filmed there, and like the different settings. It's not just been like, oh, these are interesting rocks on Earth. Like those rocks have been like other planets, other countries, like other time periods. Like it's so cool to see one tiny little area just be used so many times, and it's fun to spot it. So this movie is totally full of like super cheesy one-liners, and this is one of the best ones. I want to show you all of them, but I can't. Look at this.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Yes. Oh, gross. All right, I think my absolute favorite aspect of this movie is the skeleton army. I love it so much. Like, it just reminds me of Ray Harryhausen, like Jason and the Argonauts when they're fighting the skeletons. And what makes them so amazing is that they use several different ways to bring them to life, basically. So right here, these skeletons are stop motion, like claymation, like old style. This skeleton is like a little puppet being controlled, like just, and the puppet ones are the funniest because they're just like shaking all the time. And later they're basically like throwing them at Ash. And then this skeleton right here is a person in like a skeleton costume. And so I'm going to push play and you can see all three of these types of skeletons going at the same time. It's so cool.
Every worm-infested son of a bitch that ever died in battle. You there, handsomely died. We shall storm their castle and get my book.
He hits him and he says, "Thank you, sir." The skeletons are so funny. But the cool thing about all these different ways, like the puppets, the stop motion, and the costumes, is that they all work. Like they use all of it together, and when they do the huge like never-ending battle at the end, like it just works. And the thing with this movie is like everything's really on screen. I mean, right, there's miniatures and stuff, but like it just feels so real compared to just the CG fests of nowadays. Like I was thinking of Doctor Strange 2, because there's like the zombie things, and that movie just feels like, movies like that almost just feel like cartoons compared to this. So it's so fun watching the practical effects. It just feels like I'm watching something real, because I am watching something real. I guess that's why it feels like it. Duh. Listen to the skeleton in the background. There's a soint for sore bones.
I may be bad, but I feel good.
Who rules?
That's amazing. But the reason I showed that last part is just because her one-liner, and forgive me, I'm just going to show all one-liners, but the skeletons in the background, they have so many fun lines. Like if you just listen, they have like, they show her face and she's like, "Oh, what a sight for sore bones." But there's so many funny, like the skeletons are just constantly saying things, and it's hilarious. I mean, exploding arrows versus skeletons, like what can bring more joy? You know what I mean? Like, you just think of the things that bring joy, like top of the list. It's like bacon, exploding skeletons with bomb arrows. I mean, really, like, just this movie, I just have like a smile on my face the whole time. That's gross. I mean, it does not get more adventure-y than a two-handed sword fight. Like both guys with two swords. I mean, it is very adventure-y. And it's also the thing I love about this movie. Like, I know it's like silly and funny, but just like Ash's hero's journey, boop, boop. Like, where at first he just wants to go home, and then he wants to quit, and then he wants to protect this woman, and he gradually steps up, and then he fights, and then he goes from being brave all the way to being a leader. And so just watching his heroic journey, like, yeah, it's silly, but there is like an actual character arc in here. So like some good old swashbuckling action hero stuff, and the double swords, love it. So it's cool to see this lady who's also in Matilda. She's the lady that adopts Matilda, the school teacher. And so it's cool to see her in something a little earlier and a little, I guess, a little wilder. She did good in this. This ending is insane. Now I'm not sure how many bullets this lever action rifle can hold, but I think he pushes the level of realism here. But you know what? We'll forgive it because he's repeatedly firing with a lever action rifle into a witch. So, I mean, how much cooler can you get, I guess? This has been my thoughts on Army of Darkness on 4K, the theatrical version, out of this incredible steelbook. I think I'll watch the TV version next, actually. But this has been day 15 of 31 of my 31 days of horror. So stick with me for more stuff like this, and let me know what you think of this movie. This is a very, very odd and very fun movie, and I think I would have loved the never-ending skeleton fight when I was little. I love it now. It was just silly. Anyway, let me know what you think of this, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.